10 years passed by. It had been a long time. Jae-hwan had spent all that time alone on the 99th floor. He had gone through thousands of dangers that almost killed him. He faced many dangerous situations as he climbed from the first floor to the 99th floor, but the number of dangers he faced just on the 99th floor easily took the cake. The boss of 99th floor, Velkaisis. The dragon that came from Forgotten Land had a breath attack that Jae-hwan could not resist even with his frost resistance that hit its maximum. Not only that, the durable dragon scales had crushed swords and armor many times. If it wasn't for the pieces of equipment left behind by the other walkers, he would have had to give up a long time ago. The dragon sword from 85th floor, the frost armor that Yunhwan left behind, the bracelet of the Fire King that Seal gave him before she died had been a huge help. Han Seal. Jae-hwan thought of her. She had died even before she got up to the 77th floor. Jae, the blacksmith of Oedipus asked, Jae-hwan, are you going to try again? The village that formed after killing monster dragon Altemenes of the 50th floor, Oedipus. People of the world still had hope when the village was formed. Many walkers were killed and wounded on the front lines, but it still gave them hope. Priests formed an emergency team to heal the wounds while blacksmiths worked to provide free repairs to those who fought. Jae's blacksmith was run by Old Man Jae and it was one of the best. But he was now the last blacksmith left in Oedipus. Jae-hwan? Oh, right. Sorry. Jae-hwan came back to his senses. Yeah. I think I can do it this time. Are you sure? Jae-hwan smiled. Yeah. It was a lie. He had no chance. He had no idea when, or if he could kill it. But he had to say it this way. Jae laughed. Jae was a foreigner. As people got up on the tower, their languages were combined into the common language of the tower, but the cultural differences still remained. But Jae-hwan considered Jae like a family. Jae hammered the dragon sword as he talked to Jae-hwan. There are no more supplies coming from below. It wasn't a lot, but there was some coming up until a few months ago. Jae-hwan nodded. Last week, he had checked out every floor starting from the 1st to 99th floor. But there were no survivors. He even had waited a week at the summoning area of the 1st floor, but there wasn't even one who was summoned from below. There wasn't even one who was summoned from below. It probably meant that mankind had been wiped out. But it seemed possible. Jae-hwan did not know what the year was. There had been at least 10 tower impacts and there probably was no one who could survive. Jae-hwan managed to find one clue that was considered as a hidden piece. The passage that used to be blocked by returning stone in the past had some scribbling. Tower within the tower. A nightmare within the nightmare. He couldn't understand it, however. Oh, an old granny from Hiren Potion disappeared the other day. Hiren, the old granny from Hiren Potion, was one of the last supporter walker remaining at Oedipus. The ones who came into the tower did not age. If she disappeared, it was only one of two reasons. Either the one went to the past, or jumped off. Jae-hwan wanted to ask which option Hiren took. But it probably was the same even if he knew. Then Jae-hwan saw something deep within Jae's old eyes. It seemed he will not see Jae for much longer also. Jae, can you teach me the blacksmith skill? The hammering stopped and both men looked at each for a moment. Jae nodded silently. Jae nodded silently. Back to the 99th floor. The frost dragon Velkaisis was astonished at the human who had come again. You are one of a kind. No humans have come to the 99th floor alone until now. Jae-hwan laughed. It was ironic that his hard work was being recognized by such monsters instead of mankind. I'll be sorry to kill you. I'm sorry to say that is impossible, human. No way. That scale of yours is cracking, didn't you notice? The dragon roared and Jae-hwan charged with his sword in front. It was a simple attack. Stab. Jae-hwan had started climbing the tower much later than others. It made him miss out on the chance to get hidden skills or classes, so Jae-hwan gave up on everything else and concentrated on the stab skill. He stabbed, stabbed, and stabbed. After about 50 million stabs, people began calling him Jae-hwan the persistent stabber. And that's when he felt his stab changing. It became faster and more accurate. It had become stronger. 60 million, 70 million, and 100 million times. His basic stab skill now had become powerful enough on par with even rarest of hidden skills. Also, it was only a basic move, so it did not require him to use his mana, which made him attack endlessly. But it was not enough to handle the frost dragon of the 99th floor. He barely made a scratch when he stabbed one point of the scale hundreds of times. But there were times when he managed to damage the scale with one strike. There, I see it again. His sight became blurry and his stabbing changed its power. It was not fast, but not slow. But the stab wasn't avoidable. Kaya! The frost dragon roared in pain. He couldn't remember, but this occurred rarely. Maybe out of 1 in 100,000 times, he saw a faint line on his sight. He followed it without thinking. If he were successful in following the line, his stab managed to inflict an attack that equaled thousands of attacks. Damn it, it's still not enough. The dragon took a deep breath and released it, filling the tower. It was a critical strike to Jae-hwan, who was already in bad shape. His health was dropping rapidly towards zero. Jae-hwan barely managed to avoid the breath. It is unfortunate, human. If there were 10 more like you, you might have defeated me. Shut up. If your foolish race wasn't tempted by the Stone of Nightmare, it would have changed the fate of your race. Huh? Stone of Nightmare? What do you mean? The dragon did not answer. Instead, its huge claw swung at him. I will come back. Jae-hwan jumped backward to run, and Frost Dragon did not go after him. 5 more years had passed by. Legend incarnate, you have succeeded in hunting Frost King Velakaisis. You have achieved an impossible feat alone. Acquired a new title, Nightmare of the 99th Floor. Acquired weapon, Frost Dragon Sword. User's level has reached the limit. User's HP has reached the limit. User's strength has reached the limit. User's dexterity has reached the limit. The gigantic dragon's body was disappearing. You really are amazing, human. Speak. What is the Stone of Nightmare? You know the answer to it. Jae-hwan did not want to believe it. He needed to learn more. You will know everything once you reach the final floor. The frost dragon did not speak anymore. As Jae-hwan finished while it disappeared completely, he stood up and looked at the gate to the last floor. It had been so hard to even kill the frost dragon, so he couldn't imagine what might be waiting for him on the final floor. But he did not stop. 100, Jae-hwan checked on the number at the gate. It was covered with dust, but he reached out to clean it off. Many memories flashed by him as he looked at the number. Jae would be proud. Jae-hwan opened up the gate. The 100th floor of the tower looked like an emergency operating room from various horror movies, but on a much larger scale. Thousands of hologram panels showed various places of the tower, and some of them were showing Jae-hwan. The Jae-hwan in the hologram screen seemed dumbfounded. "Oh, you're here already? I thought you were going to stop by the village first." Jae-hwan grew tense and looked around. But there were no signs of any humans. "Relax, relax. I forgot to send you an important message. Stay where you are. These look fancy, but they're really archaic, so I have to do some manual work." After a few moments, a screen popped up in front of Jae-hwan. "Congratulations! You are the first to clear the tutorial game of World 294. Your achievement will be recorded in the Immortal Library of the Akashic Records. Only the Lords of the Great Lands will be granted access to the records." Jae-hwan grew confused. What the hell is going on?